pitching matchup, give you our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Craig Stammen. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. As today, the Padres take on the Seattle Mariners in the final game of a 3-game series. Our starting pitching matchup tonight for the Mariners, right-hander Luis Castillo, and for the Padres, right-hander Walker Buehler. Hi again, everyone. Sam Levitt with you from inside the Western Metal Building here at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 5:40 p.m. A lot to do in the next 50 minutes. We'll hear from Padres manager Craig Stammen. We hear from Nick Castellanos, from Padres catcher Freddy Fermin, and we also hear from Mariners closer Andres Munoz, the former Padre who was at the center of last night's big 9th-inning rally. But first, it's time to set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa Vista and Oceanside, and at FraserFarmsMarket.com. Well, the Padres enter today 12-6. They are red hot. They've won 7 games in a row, the longest win streak in the majors in the early part of this season. They've won 10 of their last 11 games, 11 of their past 13 games, and they've already won 4 consecutive series. Padres will look to win 8 consecutive games for the first time since September of 2023 here today. Mariners, meanwhile, enter 8-11. They swept the Astros in a 4-game series before heading to San Diego. Now they look to salvage this series finale. It has been a homestand full of absolutely incredible finishes here at Petco Park, and last night, maybe the best of them all. Let's rewind.
Did you miss what happened in the last Padres game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind on the Padres Radio Network.
Let's begin with the Padres trailing 6-0 heading to the bottom half of the 6th inning. Xander Bogaerts got the Padres on the board.
0-1. Bogaerts swings in the air deep to left. Arozarena's back at the wall. This one gonna go! Number 200 for Xander Bogaerts. Padres are on the board in the bottom of the 6th inning. Xander's 3rd of the year, and it's 6-2.
Career home run number 200 for Bogey. A big congratulations to him. That's all the Padres scored in the 6th inning. Padres were down 6-2 going to the bottom of the 9th inning. Not a save situation as right-hander Andres Munoz came on for the Mariners, one of the better closers in the game. The Padres started a rally. Manny Machado walked. Gavin Sheets doubled. With 1 out, they loaded the bases on a Ty France infield single. Fernando Tatis Jr. pinch hit for Jay Cronenworth. He hit a sac fly. That made it 6-3 as a run scored. 2 outs, 2 still on base for Luis Campusano.
Pitch swung on, lined into left center. That's down at a base hit. Sheets is on his way home. He's going to score. Francis to 3rd, and he'll stand there as Campusano knocks in a run with an RBI single to make it 6-4 here in the bottom of the 9th.
Padres down by 2. Ramon Laureano was next.
Laureano swings, hits it into shallow left field. That's going to dump down and a base hit. France comes in to score. It's a 1-run game in the bottom of the 9th, 6-5.
So the Padres were down by 1. The tying run on second base, the winning run on first. It was Jackson Merrill who dug in.
Ferrer ready. Here's the pitch. Jackson swings, hits it hard, and fair up the left field line. Campusano will score. Laureano rounding 3rd. Arozarena lost the handle. The Padres are going to win. A 5-run bottom of the 9th inning to come all the way back. It's 7-6, and it's over.
What a rally. What an ending for the San Diego Padres as they win a 7th game in a row. Final score yesterday, Padres 7 and the Mariners 6. It was the biggest 9th inning comeback win by the Padres since June of 2019 when they erased a 6-run deficit against the Rockies in Colorado. And now the Padres go for a perfect 7-0 homestand here today. After this one, Padres heading up to Anaheim for the start of a 3-game series tomorrow. But first things first, first pitch coming up at 5:40 here in downtown San Diego. Let's go inside the Jerry Coleman Broadcast Center.
Let's take a trip up to the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup with Jesse Agler in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Well, Jesse, you've had the opportunity to call some very, very exciting finishes over the course of this homestand, maybe the best of them all last night with the furious rally in the ninth inning. Jesse, when you look at how the Padres are playing and the quality of wins they're getting right now, what does it say to you about maybe the identity the Padres are building in the early part of this season?
Yeah, I think the identity is the fun thing to dig into. I love that that's what you're asking about. I mean, to me, it is really, really impressive. And I think we've talked about this before. I know Tony and I have, but it's probably worth reiterating with some regularity at this point in the season. The at-bats that they are taking with extreme consistency are incredibly impressive. They are not getting away from their approach, even when they're not getting results. And I mean, last night, obviously an extreme example of that. But in the first 4 innings last night, Emerson Hancock was just not giving them anything. And there was nothing doing for this offense whatsoever. And it would have been very, very easy at that point in the game to either kind of pack up the tent. You're down at that point 4-0. Even in the top of the 5th inning, they get the Raley homer to make it 6-0. And you kind of, could have folded it in, or even, just kind of like the focus could have been lost. And you get away from the approach. But they stuck with the plan. And then all of a sudden you get the Xander homer in the 6th, and it's 6-2. But you still don't have much cooking. But every single guy that came to bat just sort of stayed with it. And then eventually the 9th inning, you catch a couple of breaks. Things start happening. And one guy after another did exactly what he needed to do. Mm-hmm. And not a single one of those guys tried to do more than what he needed to do. And that began right away with Manny setting the tone. We've been talking about it all year. Just Machado being willing to take a walk. And look, if you're Manny Machado, you're coming up 6-2. Look, the reality is Manny Machado is on a Hall of Fame trajectory. And part of the reason he's on a Hall of Fame trajectory is he's going to have some really big round numbers on the back of his baseball card. And I think there's a lot of guys in baseball, they come to bat 6-2 in the 9th inning, and they're thinking, you know what? It's the worst time in the world to go ahead and try and add on a home run to that baseball card. And Manny wasn't thinking about that. Manny was thinking about getting on base because the Padres needed base runners. And as has been the case all year, he went ahead and took that walk. And then things just kind of started going from there. Fernando comes up as a pinch hitter. How easy it would have been for Fernando in that moment to try and hit the ball 1,000 feet. He didn't. They continue to work him away. What does he do? Shoots a line drive to right field for a sac fly to get another run home. And then obviously everybody else had to continue to do their thing. But that baton passing, that trust in the guy behind you and the guy after him is really showing up. And again, it's not always going to go the way it did in the 9th inning yesterday, obviously, but it's really, really impressive. They are sticking with the plan. That takes an extraordinary amount of discipline that they are showing. And it's pretty special because it's a very, very hard thing to do. And Tony and I were just talking about it a few minutes ago, sitting up here. Reminds me an awful lot of what we saw down the stretch in 2024 when I think they were the best team in baseball. And obviously didn't get out of the division series. The bats went cold those last 2.5 games. But I think, what we saw at the peak of 2024 from the Padres, that looks an awful lot like what we've been seeing these last few days.
Jesse, I want to focus on Luis Campusano for a second because I think Gavin Sheets had such a great quote after the game yesterday. He said, there's no 3 walk-offs without Campy, and it's so true. He's had such a pivotal role in different ways throughout this homestand, and obviously I think he's becoming a pretty significant story for the Padres, the way he's playing over the course of the last couple of weeks. Your thoughts on Luis Campusano, who starts once again here tonight?
It's a story that is a wonderful reminder. And, this is one of my favorite analogies. I know I beat it into the ground probably on this broadcast, but there's a reason as a kid you play chutes and ladders. Success is not just a stairway to heaven, right? You go up and you fall down, and you go up a little bit more and you fall down a big way, and then you go up maybe a lot and you fall back down again. And, you're supposed to be getting a lesson from that terrible board game when you're a kid. And even if it's subconscious. And, boy, I don't know that there's a better example right now than Luis Campusano. He has fallen down some very big chutes, but he's working his way up a ladder right now, and he's contributing in a major way to this 2026 Padre team. He's a guy that's been through the ringer in a lot of ways. I think there have been times here where I would imagine he didn't think he was going to have a future with the Padre organization, but he's had some very important people in the Padre organization continue to believe in him, and he's gotten to a point where he has just sort of gotten to the place where he needs to be to go out there kind of let it all hang out and have some success. And again, look, it's April 16th. We don't want to make any grand proclamations, of course, but it's just been wonderful to see him be able to go out there and have the kind of success that he's had. And beyond that, it's also a reminder that, we shouldn't be judging most baseball players when they're 22, 23, 24 years old, particularly at that position. The catching position is one that requires a heck of a lot more development than any other position on the field. There's just so much more on their plate. Keep this in mind when we start talking about Ethan Salas in a couple of years, please. I think if you look at your average, and I don't mean average in terms of their ability, but like your average major league catcher, most of those guys really don't seem to get clicking in their career probably until they're 26 or 27 years old,
right.
Which is what Luis is. So, I know it's been kind of a through the ringer situation for the guy, but maybe in a lot of ways he's actually right on schedule.
All right, Jesse, very, very good insight. Walker Buehler on the mound for the Padres today. Luis Castillo on the mound for the M's. Couple of veteran right-handers going at it. We'll talk more about them coming up later. Jesse, thanks so much. We'll talk to you and Tony Gwynn Jr. coming up at 5:30. Appreciate it.
You got it, Sammy.
All right, that is Jesse Agler joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for this series finale. Padres going for a series sweep of the Mariners and an 8th consecutive win. Well, last night on the other side of that furious 9th-inning rally was former Padre right-hander Andres Munoz, who was traded from the Padres to the Mariners now many years ago. Munoz, to his credit, turned himself into one of the best right-handed relievers in the game, one of the best closers in baseball, but he didn't have it last night. Padres had a lot of soft hits, but you know what? They grinded out some really, really tough at-bats against Munoz. I was there when Andres Munoz spoke to the media earlier today inside the Seattle clubhouse. Here was Munoz on how he's going to try to flush an outing like the one that happened yesterday.
I don't know. You start learning from your mistakes. We're going to have a lot of up and downs. Yesterday was one of them. Yesterday was tough for me. Tough. Obviously, I want to make the pitches. I want to finish the outing, but they got me really good, and it's nothing to complain. Threw my pitches, did my best, and didn't work.
How do you feel right now with your command? It looked like at times the slider wasn't going where you wanted to, and when you did throw a strike, it was in the middle. It was just not where you wanted it to be.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I've been, you know me. I've been working a lot on that pitch on the slider to get it back. I thought that I have it again with good movement and good location, but yesterday at the last 3 outings probably wasn't where I wanted. Obviously, even if I get out of the innings, I continue work a lot on it, but for some reason, yesterday, it didn't work.
How tough was it too that the one that it seemed like you executed, the one to Sheets, he just pokes it out, the soft single out into the opposite field.
Just unlucky, and then they are good hitters too, and they put the ball in play, and when you put the ball in play, those things can happen, and just they win, and they're happy for them.
That was Mariners closer Andres Munoz earlier today inside the Mariners clubhouse. Obviously, you can only imagine what the Mariners clubhouse was like yesterday after that stunning comeback, what Mariners fans were feeling yesterday after that stunning comeback. And Munoz came up with the Padres in 2019, ultimately got traded to the Mariners, and has now been in Seattle for a long time, where to his credit, he's become a very, very good right-handed reliever. When we come back, we officially turn the page to tonight's game. We hear from Padres manager Craig Stammen. A little bit later, I go one-on-one with Nick Castellanos. We also hear the latest on Freddy Fermin, who came out of the game yesterday after getting hit by a foul ball in his mask. We'll hear the latest from Freddy and hear from Freddy himself as well. First pitch coming up at 5:40 here at Petco Park, the final game of this 3-game series between the Padres and Mariners. We return after this. EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as the Padres try to keep it rolling here tonight. First pitch coming up at 5:40. Padres looking for an 8th consecutive win. They'll be looking for their 11th win in their last 12 games, their 12th win in the past 14 games, and also a perfect 7-0 homestand. They swept the Rockies in a 4-game series over the weekend, and now tonight they look for a 3-game sweep of the Seattle Mariners. As always, our pregame coverage brought to you by EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Visit EcoWaterSoCal.com or call 760-350-3338. Again, phone number 760-350-3338. Our starting pitching matchup tonight, couple of veteran right-handers going at it. Mariners right-hander Luis Castillo on the mound against right-hander Walker Buehler, making his 4th start as a Padre here tonight. As we get ready for this one, and before we actually hear from Craig Stammen, I should remind you, Freddy Fermin did come out of yesterday's game in the 3rd inning after getting hit by a second foul ball directly in the mask. He was shaken up, came out of the game. Luis Campusano came in. Obviously, Campy had a big hit later in the game, but a topic last night beyond the comeback win was the status of Freddy Fermin, and after the game, it sounded like Freddy was doing okay, like potentially the Padres avoided a concussion situation with Freddy Fermin. So, with all that in mind, let's hear from Padres manager Craig Stammen.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres skipper Craig Stammen. Served up by Sinley Food. If you've had better chicken, you must be a rooster.
Did you give us an update on Freddie Fermin?
Yeah, Freddie, obviously got hit in the head yesterday in the game. Came out of it pretty good. Not feeling too bad last night. Just kind of had, what we called a head contusion. So it's a little sore, but concussion tests, all that stuff came back negative. Today, feeling even better, feels normal. So available for the game today.
And then Duran is here. So what would be the plan for him?
Yeah, we can bring him up as a taxi squad catcher, emergency. Obviously, whenever you have head injuries, you never know, they could change on a dime. Freddie could go out here, take BP, have a headache, and then, all that kind of changes. So we have him just in case an emergency, something goes awry with Freddie. But feel very comfortable with him being here.
I know you touched on it a little bit last night, but Jackson's home run robbery, from your vantage point, could you just share with us how you saw that unfold?
Yeah, when he hit it, I was like, well, that's a homer. But, kind of Petco Park held it in, and then Jackson made an amazing play. Played that corner out there in center field really well. Like, he's been here for a really long time, and just an amazing play, and, ends up giving us a chance to come back and win at the end.
Well, because he hasn't been here for that long, right? And then we also take into account that he hadn't played outfield until he got here as a Padre. So how does that remind you how special his athleticism is?
Yeah, he's just a great athlete. Shortstop being his natural position. Remember that spring training, we're just seeing if he could play left field, and then we're like, well, why don't we just stick him in center field? And he's turned it basically a Gold Glove caliber center fielder for us.
What drama after 3 walk-offs in a week do you guys have planned for us tonight?
Hopefully a nice and comfortable, easy win. But, that I don't know if that would be any fun for anybody. So we'll see. The guys are going to keep playing hard, keep sticking to the process. We'll see what happens as a result.
The first 2 walk-offs came on one swing for bogey for Sheets. But last night it was a little bit different in the sense that it was grinded out, tough at bats, move the line. Is there some value this early in the year in having that kind of comeback in particular?
Yeah, it was a little bit more unexpected than the other 2. It just speaks to these guys continuing to compete, no matter what the score is, no matter what style of games being played, that they're up at the bat competing. Manny had a great at bat to lead off that 9th inning. That got it started, gave everybody hope that we could possibly get this done if things went our way, and things kind of went our way with a few bloops and then a couple hard hits that finish it off.
Walker Buehler on the mound tonight, really good his last time out, 6 shutout innings. He was efficient. How do you hope he builds on that today?
Yeah, looking for the same thing. I think he's figured a few things out over his first few starts here with us, and then it all came together last start against the Rockies. So, we'll see if he can do it again against the Mariners, but we expect him to do that. He's in a good spot right now with us, and feel really good about Walker taking the ball today.
You obviously pitched to Campy. Obviously you don't construct the roster, but AJ, trust your opinion. You have some say. How much did what you knew from having pitched to Campy like kind of validate the trust that you've clearly shown in him this season?
Yeah, probably for me personally, like I trusted him because of that. Did that change our view from him in the organization? I don't think so. I think a lot of people trusted him because we've had him since we drafted him. But I guess me validating that, maybe that helped a little bit. I felt really comfortable with me throwing to him. I always loved throwing to Campy. So, maybe when the manager feels that strongly about it, it gives him a little nudge, but he's only done exactly what we expected of him and probably even a little bit more.
What did you like in particular about throwing to him?
I just liked his big setup, and his glove was an appealing target for me as a pitcher. For me, what I saw visually was very helpful in helping me command the baseball, and what he presented back there was visually, pretty to me. So I felt like I could make really good pitches with him behind the plate. And then the game calling, he was learning at the time, how to call games in the big leagues. And at that time, I was an old, wily veteran, and I was calling my own game. So we made a good pair. I was hopefully trying to teach him a few things, and he was working really hard for me behind the plate. So I respected that and felt like he did a great job for me.
How much have you seen him evolve since then? That was a few years ago.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we had conversations. He was worried about me shaking him off, and I had to tell him I'm a notorious shaker. And just having those conversations and letting him know that he's not doing anything wrong when a pitcher shakes off. Sometimes a pitcher has certain feelings of why he wants to throw a certain pitch. It has nothing to do with game calling. Him learning that, understanding that, and then seeing how pitchers call games, how they like pitches to be called, and where they need to be set up, all that stuff he's learned over the past 4 or 5 years. And, we're seeing the fruition of all those learning opportunities through the years.
Just kind of talked about how he's maybe not thinking quite as much now. I mean, it goes back to the movie Bull Durham, like don't think, just throw. Is there something freeing with him where he can just kind of turn his brain off and just let his natural athletic ability take over?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's true for a lot of players. Most players just need to be able to use their talents to the best of their abilities and keep their brain out of the equation. Then there's other players that like to think through the game. I was definitely a thinker. I like to think through it. I thought it made me a better player. And everybody's different. Campy's probably one of those. He just needs to go out and just go play baseball.
Song was remain at the AAA. What was the background of the decision?
Yeah, Song has finished his rehab. We feel like he's fully healthy. I think there's a limit on how many days he could be on rehab. That was yesterday. It was his last day. We like the way our roster is currently constructed with the guys. They're all playing well. We're able to use the roster the way we want to. And it also gives him a chance to get some more seasoning down in AAA and get him ready to come up here in the big leagues when he's ready.
So what is the report about him there? What was the report? How do you guys evaluate him?
Yeah, he's doing good. I mean, he's healthy. He's ready to play. We just like who we currently have, and we like having him as depth in AAA.
Will Waldron start tomorrow?
Waldron will be starting tomorrow.
Is there a reason why you wanted to break up Bueller and Marquez, or is it just?
No, I think Matt's last game was quite a while ago, so he would have been on. I think he's still on 7 days rest. Would have been if he takes Nick's normal day, it's on 8 days rest. So just give him that, one less day of that. We could, we were able to manipulate the starting rotation in that way. It made sense.
That was Padres manager Craig Stammen earlier today inside the Padres dugout. We'll hear from Craig on our postgame coverage. Coming up later on this evening, Sam Levitt back with you inside the Western Metal Building as we get ready for this series finale against the Mariners. Couple of notes there at the end. Matt Waldron confirmed he will pitch tomorrow for the Padres. Padres will have to make a corresponding move to make room for Waldron on the 26-man roster. And you also heard the questions there about infielder Sungmoon Song, who was reinstated from the IL today, but optioned to AAA El Paso. And you understand it because, quite frankly, if Song were to be added to the roster today, who are you sending down based on the way guys are playing right now? So Sungmoon Song is off the IL technically, but he is now with AAA El Paso via an option. Let's tell you who's hot, who's not as we get ready for the final game of this 3-game set.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to step up their game? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not. Presented by ASAP Drain Guys and Plumbing, a division of Anderson Commercial, your full-service plumber serving San Diego County.
Number of guys in the hot category because the Padres are swinging the bat so well right now. Xander Bogaerts, his last 9 games, hitting .429 with 3 home runs and 10 RBIs. Luis Campusano in the midst of a 7-game hitting streak. He's 8 for 20 in that span with 4 doubles, 1 home run, and 5 RBIs. Ramon Laureano in the midst of a 5-game hitting streak, 8 for 19 in that 5-game span, 2 home runs, 2 doubles, a triple, and 6 RBIs. Jackson Merrill, 9 for 20 with 4 extra base hits, 6 RBIs, and 7 runs scored during a 5-game hitting streak. The not category, couple of guys. Jake Cronenworth is still really struggling. He is over his last 14, just 5 for 46 in his last 14 games. That's a 109 batting average in that span. And Nick Castellanos, who will be available off the bench today. He has 1 hit in his past 17 at-bats. And that's a look at who's hot, who's not, as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 5:40. Speaking of Nick Castellanos, I go one-on-one with Nick when we come back. We have some headlines from around the major leagues. A little bit later, our keys to today's game, and much, much more to do as we walk you up towards first pitch here at Petco Park on the Padres Radio Network. Night here in downtown San Diego as we get ready for Padres baseball. First pitch coming up at 5:40. Padres taking on the Seattle Mariners, looking for a series sweep, an 8th consecutive win. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 5:40. Still a lot to do. We'll hear from Freddy Fermin in just a bit. I go one-on-one with Nick Castellanos in a little while as well. But first, let's give you some headlines from around the major leagues as we take you around the horn.
Let's examine the most important news and the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball. Sam Levitt takes you around the horn. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Get ready for Major League winning when you join Valley View Casino and Hotel's Players Club and receive over $200 in free instant offers. Visit valleyviewcasino.com to learn more today.
First, a couple of headlines from the out-of-town scoreboard today. Mike Trout hit another home run at Yankee Stadium today, putting him in some pretty rare company. He homered for the 5th time during a 4-game series earlier today in an 11-4 victory for the Angels against the Yankees today. So the Angels come in playing pretty good baseball as of late. Mike Trout, again, 5 home runs in the course of that 4-game series. A 3-time MVP. He joined Jimmy Fox, Darrell Evans, and George Bell as the only players with 5 home runs in a series against the Yankees. So a big series for Mike Trout. Padres will have to face him tomorrow. Tigers completed a perfect homestand with a big 9th-inning comeback to sweep the Royals today. Riley Green hit a game-tying 2-run double in the 9th inning. Colt Keith hit a walk-off single. Tigers won it 10-9. A couple of other headlines for you. Yankees right-hander Garrett Cole, who's been sidelined since undergoing Tommy John surgery in March of 2025. He'll make his first rehab start tomorrow at AA. And finally, some news that came out yesterday. The Major League Baseball Players Association fired 2 top executives with cause following an internal investigation players commissioned in the wake of a federal investigation into alleged financial improprieties at the union. The firings of Xavier James, the union's chief operating officer, and Michael O'Neill, the head of human resources. That follows the resignation of executive director Tony Clark in February. And that's a quick look at some of the headlines from around the major leagues the last 24 hours or so. We'll have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard coming up in just a little bit. Let's give you the latest on Freddy Fermin with today's injury report.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Freddy Fermin came out of yesterday's game in the 3rd inning. He took a couple of really hard foul balls directly off the mask, and the one he got in the 3rd was just in the center of his mask. He was clearly little shaken up, came out of the game alongside Craig Stammen and Padres athletic training staff. Luis Campusano replaced him. We heard pretty good news about Fermin after the game. Sounded like he did not have a concussion. Sounded like a pretty good chance that he would be available for today's game. Here was Freddy Fermin on how he's feeling after getting hit in the mask last night.
Feel good, that's part of the game, and new day, and we're good today.
Are you in concussion protocol, or did you avoid that?
I avoid that, no concussion, just get a lot of foul balls in the 2 weeks, and I feel good, that's part of the game, and just prevent that and get out from the game.
How did you feel when you came out of the game yesterday? Was it scary?
That was a little, a little tough, it was hard. But after that, the doctor checked me and everything was fine. I passed the test and now I'm good.
Yeah, good sleep and all those things?
Yeah, all good. I woke up this morning and everything normal. No more pressure in my head, and everything is good. Everything all right now.
Are you available today then?
Yeah, man, yeah. I feel good, just waiting for the doctor. If it's whatever he's saying, I'm ready to go. I feel good to play.
Freddie, I know you were out of the game, but did you get a chance to see what happened in the 9th inning? What'd you think yesterday? How it went down?
What a game. I was in the doctor's office and I was watching there. What a game. We came back from that tough inning, and that was really cool. We are really good and just play hard every day. No matter what happens, just continue and enjoy this game we can.
This team has had a number of walk-off wins on this homestand, comeback wins. What have you thought about this team's ability to fight back late in games?
No, like I said, we are playing really good right now, and just enjoy the most we can, and every player he'll try to do the little details and do little things, everybody contributing some, and we're gonna win a lot of games.
That was Freddy Fermin earlier today inside the Padres clubhouse. Good to hear Freddy is feeling good. Luis Campusano getting the start at catcher tonight and batting eighth. And you heard Craig Stammen say this a little bit earlier. The Padres did have Rodolfo Duran, AAA catcher, up today as part of the quote-unquote taxi squad. They got to do that just in case, let's say Fermin starts not feeling well. You got to have another catcher here and available. But to this point, Padres have not made any moves for Fermin active for tonight's game. Let's take a look at some of the keys to tonight's game. Key number one, in my opinion, more crooked numbers. The Padres averaging 6.7 runs per game with an 845 OPS during their 7-game winning streak. A lot of that offense coming late last night, but it came just in time. The offense has been great as a whole over the course of the last week and a half. More crooked numbers offensively on the scoreboard tonight. Key number two, focus on Luke Raley. The Mariners' Luke Raley went 4 for 5 last night with a home run. He's now 11 for 17 with 4 extra base hits in his last 4 games. Raley leads Seattle with a .339 batting average this season, 4 home runs, 12 RBIs, at 1035 OPS. You look at this lineup, you've got Brendan Donovan, Cal Raleigh, Julio Rodriguez, Josh Naylor, Randy Arozarena, the top 5. You might get a little bit lost with Raley being in the mix there in the 6th spot, but don't forget about Luke Raley. He has been arguably the Mariners' best player so far this season. Key number 3, another good outing from Walker Buehler. 6 shutout innings in his last start against the Rockies. He was extremely efficient at 68 pitches through 6. First 2 starts, as we know, a little bit up and down. 7 earned runs given up in just 6 2/3 innings. Now, keep this in mind. Buehler faced the Mariners in June of last year. He had the worst start of his career, allowed a career-high 8 runs and walked 4 batters in just 3 innings and a third. And we'll talk a little bit more about a specific matchup to watch against Walker Buehler here tonight when we come back. When we return, I also go one-on-one with Nick Castellanos as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 5:40 from Petco Park. We're back after this. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you from Petco Park as we get ready for first pitch against the Mariners coming up at 5:40. Let's take a quick look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
We have a handful of games that are already final today. Rangers beat the A's in Sacramento 9-6. Rays beat the White Sox in Chicago 5-3. Brewers 2, Blue Jays won the final in Milwaukee. Angels beat up on the Yankees in the Bronx 11-4. Tigers walked it off on the Royals 10-9 on a Colt Keith walk-off hit in the 9th inning. Giants blanked the Reds 3-0 in Cincinnati. Nationals beat the Pirates 8-7 in Pittsburgh in 10 innings. 2 games going on right now. Guardians ahead of the Orioles 4-0 in Cleveland in the 8th inning. Astros lead the Rockies 1-0 in the 1st inning in Houston. And no other games scheduled to begin later on aside from this one. That is a very quick look at the out-of-town scoreboard. More on those games coming up later on this evening in our post-game coverage. Well, Nick Castellanos not in the lineup today, but always a great interview from Nick. I talked to Nick about a number of topics earlier today.
Nick, another really exciting comeback win last night. You've been a part of a lot of teams, been around this game a long time. What stood out to you about the way this team has been able to fight back, find ways to win late in games in this early part of the season?
Well, I think we're definitely establishing that we have fight early on, which is a good thing because it means that we're never out of it until, all the outs are taken care of. It's good to establish that as early as you possibly can. You don't want to have to start finding that in June or July.
You alluded to it, finding it early in a season. That can be, sounds like, particularly helpful for a group when you're having those quality of wins and finishes early in the year in particular?
Well, I think it just builds camaraderie, right? It builds closeness because, we went through adversity and we came out triumphant. And that always is going to leave a group feeling good.
How would you describe the camaraderie of this team early on in the year? It seems like a group of guys that likes each other.
Yeah, I would say that, we're building something that has the potential to be very special.
Jackson Merrill comes up with the big 2-run double yesterday. He's had such a nice start to his major league career, his first few seasons. You were once in his shoes, a young player having success, getting used to the major leagues. He's a few years in now, but what stood out to you about being Jackson's teammate so far?
Well, not only is he talented, he also works very hard. He seems to be respectful of his teammates and his coaches. Sometimes he's a man, but sometimes young men who get paid very early can, kind of lose respect for the little things where I feel like Jackson does not. I'll show up early to the clubhouse and he beats me here and he's folding towels with the clubbies, so, he seems to have a very good head on his shoulders. Meeting his parents, they seem like very steadfast people, so he has a chance to have an incredibly special career.
This building, Petco Park, you've now played here for a couple of homestands. The place is pretty close to sold out every single night. What stood out to you about playing here in San Diego in particular so far?
Oh, it's great. Awesome. I mean, everybody is electric, showing up, enthusiastic, cheering, it's a fun place.
You've played in a number of places that are cold this time of year, can be very cold this time of year. How have you enjoyed having the warmer weather pretty much every day?
Yeah, it's great. It's something that can spoil you if you let it.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovements.com.
What to watch for in today's game? The matchup between Padres starting pitcher Walker Buehler and the powerful Mariners catcher Cal Raleigh. Raleigh, in his career against Buehler, 5 hits and 6 at-bats, 2 doubles and a home run. That was a grand slam in that game that Buehler pitched against Seattle last year. So Raleigh batting second today for Seattle. keep an eye on that early matchup between Walker Buehler and Cal Raleigh, who hit 60 home runs last season. You've been listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Well, it has been a memorable homestand so far here in downtown San Diego. So many exciting finishes. Do the Padres have one more win in them in the final game of this homestand, looking for an 8th consecutive win? We're going to find out when we come back. Jesse Ackler, Tony Gwynn Jr. ready to go inside the Padres radio booth. They have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our post-game coverage. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.